Okay, today is the 3rd of September, and we're on the 51st chapter, Iddhipada Samyutta. We come to Sutta 51.31. There the Blessed One addressed the monks thus: "What do you think, monks? By having developed and cultivated what things has the monk Moggallana become so powerful and mighty?" Let's stop here for a moment. Venerable Maha Moggallana is the disciple of the Buddha with the greatest psychic power. And the monk said, "Venerable Sir, our teachings are rooted in the Blessed One, etc." And the Buddha said, "It is because he has developed and cultivated the 4 bases for psychic power that the monk Moggallana has become so powerful and mighty." What for? Here, monks, the monk Moggallana has developed the basis for psychic power of concentration due to desire, accompanied by effort and volition, thinking, "Thus my desire will be neither too slack nor too tense, and it will be neither constricted internally nor distracted externally." And he has dwelt perceiving after and before, as before so after, as after so before, as below so above, as above so below, as by day so at night, as at night so by day. Thus with a mind that is open and unenveloped, he has developed the mind imbued with luminosity. He has developed this basis for psychic power of concentration due to energy. Similarly, of concentration due to mind, of concentration due to investigation, accompanied by effort and volition. Thus, with a mind that is open and unenveloped, he has developed the mind imbued with luminosity. It is, monks, because he has developed and cultivated these 4 bases for psychic power that the monk Moggallana has become so powerful and mighty. It is, monks, because the monk Moggallana has developed and cultivated these 4 bases for psychic power that he wields the various kinds of psychic power, such as having been one, he becomes many, having been many, he becomes one, etc. He exercises mastery with the body as far as the Brahma world. It is, monks, because the monk Moggallana has developed and cultivated these 4 bases for psychic power that by the destruction of the asavas, in this very life, he enters and dwells in the taintless liberation by mind, liberation by wisdom, realizing it for himself with direct knowledge. That's the end of the sutta. So, in an earlier sutta, when we read about the Venerable Anuruddha, his psychic powers were due to the practice of satipatthana, because the practice of satipatthana is synonymous with the development of Jhana. But here, the Venerable Moggallana, his emphasis is on the 4 bases for psychic power. So that's the last sutta I'm reading of the Iddhipada Samyutta. Now we come to the 52nd chapter of the Samyutta Nikaya, Anuruddha Samyutta. Anuruddha is the disciple of the Buddha, the Arahant, with the greatest heavenly eye. He is supposed to be able to see 1,000 world systems so clearly, like in the palm of his hand. In other words, his mind has opened up so to be boundless. Has attained great this arupa jhanas. The first sutta is 52.1. On one occasion, the Venerable Anuruddha was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. Then while the Venerable Anuruddha was alone in seclusion, a reflection arose in his mind thus: those who have neglected these 4 intense states of recollection have neglected the noble path leading to the complete destruction of suffering. Those who have undertaken these 4 intense states of recollection have undertaken the noble path leading to the complete destruction of suffering. Stop here for a moment. I just mentioned a while ago that the Venerable Anuruddha, his emphasis is on the Satipatthana, and here we find him again talking about this Satipatthana. So you have, because the Buddha has taught the various ways of practicing, and also the different objects of contemplation. So like in these 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas, different arahants, they succeed with different methods. Like the Venerable Anuruddha, he is more on Satipatthana. Venerable Mahamoggallana is more on the 4 Iddhipada. And also as far as the objects of contemplation, there are some arahants, they become arahants due to contemplation of the 5 aggregates. Some attain arahanthood from contemplating the 6 sense bases, and some attain arahanthood from contemplating the 12 links of dependent origination. But even though there is a slight variation in their practice, all this practice is basically centered on the Noble Eightfold Path. You cannot run away from the Noble Eightfold Path. Then the Venerable Mahamoggallana, having known with his own mind the reflection in the Venerable Anuruddha's mind, just as quickly as a strong man might extend his drawn-in arm or draw in his extended arm, appeared in the presence of the Venerable Anuruddha and said to him, "To what extent, friend Anuruddha, have these 4 intense states of recollection been undertaken by a monk?" And Venerable Anuruddha replied, "Here, friend, a monk dwells contemplating the nature of origination in the body internally. He dwells contemplating the nature of vanishing in the body internally. He dwells contemplating the nature of origination and vanishing in the body internally, ardent, clearly aware, recollected, having removed covetousness and grief in regard to the world. He dwells contemplating the nature of origination in the body externally. He dwells contemplating the nature of vanishing in the body externally. He dwells contemplating the nature of origination and vanishing in the body externally, ardent, clearly aware, recollected, having removed covetousness and grief in regard to the world. He dwells contemplating the nature of origination in the body internally and externally. He dwells contemplating the nature of vanishing in the body internally and externally. He dwells contemplating the nature of origination and vanishing in the body internally and externally, ardent, clearly aware, recollected, having removed covetousness and grief in regard to the world. If he wishes, may I dwell perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive. He dwells perceiving the repulsive therein. If he wishes, may I dwell perceiving the unrepulsive in the repulsive. He dwells perceiving the unrepulsive therein. If he wishes, may I dwell perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive and in the repulsive. He dwells perceiving the repulsive therein. If he wishes, may I dwell perceiving the unrepulsive in the repulsive and in the unrepulsive. He dwells perceiving the unrepulsive therein. If he wishes, avoiding both the unrepulsive and the repulsive, may I dwell equanimously, mindful and collected. Then he dwells therein equanimously, recollected and clearly aware. He dwells contemplating the nature of origination, the nature of vanishing, the nature of origination and vanishing in feelings internally, in feelings externally, in feelings internally and externally, ardent, clearly aware, recollected, having removed covetousness and grief in regard to the world. If he wishes, may I dwell perceiving the unrepulsive in the repulsive in the unrepulsive. He dwells perceiving the repulsive therein. If he wishes, avoiding both the unrepulsive and the repulsive, may I dwell equanimously, recollected and clearly aware. Then he dwells therein, equanimously, recollected and clearly aware. He dwells contemplating the nature of origination, the nature of vanishing, nature of origination and vanishing in the mind, internally, externally. Similarly, if he wishes, may I dwell perceiving the repulsive. He perceives the repulsive. And then he dwells contemplating the nature of origination, nature of vanishing, etc. in Dhamma, internally, externally. And similarly, if he wishes, if he wants to perceive the repulsive, he perceives the repulsive. It is in this way, friend, that these 4 intense states of recollection have been undertaken by a monk. So here the Venerable Anuruddha says that if a monk practices the 4 satipatthanas and develops them fully, then he is able to, if he wishes to perceive the repulsive, he perceives the repulsive either in the repulsive or in the unrepulsive. If he wants to perceive unrepulsive, then he perceives unrepulsive. This is not easy to do because this perception of repulsiveness and unrepulsiveness is due to habit. We have developed it over many lifetimes, so it's very difficult to change unless your mind is very strong. So what do you mean by perceiving the repulsive and the unrepulsive? For example, if you see a body of the opposite sex, it is unrepulsive. And in fact, it's very attractive. And lust arises. But if a monk develops his mind to be so strong, if he wants to see in the body repulsiveness, he can see like inside the body consisting of head, hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinew, bones, etc. With all the excrement and blood and pus and all that. Then he can feel it's repulsive. And on the other hand, the other extreme, suppose he sees a rotten corpse. To an ordinary person, when you see a rotten corpse, you feel it's very repulsive. You dare not look. You cannot stand the stench or so. But if he wants to perceive it as unrepulsive, because his mind is so strong, he can perceive it as unrepulsive. Many years ago, when I first went to Thailand, I met an old monk. That old monk is a Teochew monk. I knew him from Ipoh before I went to Thailand. So I went to stay with him. He was telling me about one young Thai monk. Many years ago, he was practicing very hard. Then he went to a place where they had thrown the corpse. He held the corpse for many hours, holding the corpse and contemplating the corpse. And then to the extent that he even beat the corpse just to not to feel repulsiveness, and just beat the corpse. So that's hard to do unless your mind is very strong enough. Your mind is not strong, then our feelings control us. But if the mind is strong enough, then the mind controls the feeling. Okay. Next sutta is 52.4. On one occasion, the Venerable Anuruddha, the Venerable Sariputta, and the Venerable Mahamoggallana were dwelling at Saketa in the thorn bush grove. Then in the evening, the Venerable Sariputta and the Venerable Mahamoggallana emerged from seclusion, approached the Venerable Anuruddha, and exchanged greetings with him. When they had concluded their greetings and cordial talk, they sat down to one side, and the Venerable Sariputta said to the Venerable Anuruddha, "Friend Anuruddha, what are the things that a monk who is a trainee